Hi, it's Bee with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have an alternative for the November 2022 paper pumpkin called From the North Pole. I've brought in some extra cardstock to make this cool three-dimensional mailbox. It's decorated with pieces from the kit, and it stands up on its own. When you open it up, there is an insert that allows you to tuck in a gift card or a message. But it can still fold down flat so that it can go inside an envelope for easy mailing. Now this does take some extra steps, but as always, we'll take it a little bit at a time, and I'm so excited to share this project with you. Here are the pieces for the project. The pop-up mailbox is made from cherry cobbler cardstock, and we've got a larger piece and then a smaller one that acts as an insert. Now I've sized this insert so that it comfortably sits a gift card. You don't want that pocket to be too deep because otherwise people won't realize that there's something in there. If you're wanting to put in something that's larger, you can either resize it or adjust the position of the insert, and we'll talk more about that when we get there. The larger piece is 9 inches across by 7 1/4 inches in height, and then the smaller piece is 4 1/4 inches by 6 inches in height. We're going to do some additional scoring and cutting on these together. I also have a piece of shaded spruce cardstock that is 2 3/4 inches across by 4 1/2 inches in height, and a piece of basic white cardstock that is 2 1/2 inches across by 4 1/4 inches in height. These are for the back so that we can create a message panel. The pieces that I'm using from the kit are this large round label, and then these two sentiments that say Happy Holidays and For You. And then I've got 3 of those iridescent snowflakes here. We'll do a little bit of stamping just on this piece, and we'll use the cherry cobbler ink that came with the kit. And now we're ready to get started. Let's start with the stamping. I'm using the cherry cobbler ink from the kit, and I really love this reindeer stamp. At home, make sure that your head is right above the stamp so that you can look down straight through it, and that's going to help you line it up. Now I'm going to be using my scoring board today because it's easier for me to show you what I'm doing, but you can also use the scoring blade on your trimmer. Now if you're using the scoring board, notice that the stylus has 2 ends, one with a larger tip and one with a smaller one. For cardstock, we want to use that smaller tip so that it can go more deeply into the grooves and make a better indentation on the cardstock. So this is the larger piece that we're starting with, and as a reminder, it's 9 inches across by 7 1/4 inches in height. We're going to be making several score lines with that long side along the top first. So the first one is at 1 inch. And then I'll score at 4 1/4. 5 1/4, and 8 1/2. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it counterclockwise so that that narrow panel is up here at the top now, and I'm going to score it at 2 1/4 inches. Here's what that looks like so far. Now down in the description box you'll find a link to the blog post, and that will include pictures that show you where the score lines are and show where we're ultimately going to be cutting. But first we're going to do the smaller piece. As a reminder, this piece for the insert is 4 1/4 inches by 6 inches. We're going to put that short side at the top first, and then we'll score at 1/2 inch and 3 3/4 inch. So basically it's 1/2 inch from each end. Now go ahead and rotate it. This time it doesn't really matter which direction that you go. I'm going to go counterclockwise again, and we'll score at 3 1/2 inches. Now that we've created the score lines, we're ready to cut. Let's start by cutting this smaller piece because it's easier. So I've got the short side along the top, and I've got these two vertical score lines here, and then a horizontal score line coming across this way. I'm going to cut into this horizontal score line just until it meets the vertical one. So here on this side, and then on the other side. So what this does is it creates these 4 flaps that we're going to use for gluing tabs. I'm going to fold them up temporarily like this just so that you can see them more clearly. And because these are gluing tabs, I'm going to cut very small wedges out of the ends of them. So these are just skinny triangles. It's going to help things look a little bit neater. It keeps the edges from poking out even if things don't come together perfectly. Now for the larger piece. The score lines divide the piece into all these different sections, and so you want to look for the smallest section. This one is both skinny and short. You'll want to put that in the upper right-hand corner so that we're oriented the same way. I'm going to start by cutting off that section. Now we've got a wide section that's short, and then everything to the left of that on this upper part is going to be cut off. So all of this is going to go. Here's what your piece should look like at this point, and again, there are pictures on the blog. Now I'm going to put this back into the trimmer to make some additional cuts. And I've gone ahead and drawn in the score lines so that hopefully you can see them a little bit more clearly. Let's start by turning the piece counterclockwise so that this large flap is hanging out over on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and line up this edge here with the 1-inch mark on the right side of my trimmer. So here's 1 inch, and I'm lining that up. I basically want to make a partial cut from this score line down to this other one here. So to do that, I'm looking at the notches on the side of my cutting blade, and I want the first part to be at 1 inch. That's going to line up with where that score line is, and then I'm going to go down to 4 1/4 inches. I missed a little bit here at the top, so I'm just going to go back and make sure. It's hard for me to see from this angle. There, I've mostly got it. I'm still a little bit off, and if you are too, don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take this little short flap over here, this gluing flap, and I'm going to go ahead and fold it down temporarily, just so that that makes this edge flush, because now I'm going to turn this counterclockwise so that this edge is going to be along the top of my trimmer. And now that this is flush, I can go ahead and put it up against the top. This time I'm going to be looking at the measurements that are over here on the left, and I want to put this at 1 1/2 inches. So this edge is going to go to 1 1/2 inches. And I'm going to make a partial cut from 1/2 inch down to 2 3/4 inch. So 1/2 inch is right here. And if you're using dark paper and you're having trouble seeing, One thing you can do is put a slip of white underneath there. That's just a little white post-it that I have, and that's going to make the numbers a lot easier to see. So I want to go from 1/2 inch, which is here. I've pressed it down, and now I'm going to go down to 2 3/4 of an inch. Next, I'm going to take my cardstock and I'm going to scoot it over to the left so that this edge is now at 1 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make that same cut. So from 1/2 inch to 2 3/4 of an inch. Since I'm already down here at the bottom, I'll just start there and do it in reverse. So here's what we have. We've got these 2 parallel cuts here, and then another cut in this section. I'm going to bring in my snips now, and I'm going to work with this side first. I'm going to use my snips to make a cut that connects this corner to the edge of this cut. And if you are missing a little tiny bit like I am, then you can go ahead and fix that as you go along. Now I'm just going to eyeball it. If it helps you to be more comfortable, you can draw the line first and then cut along the line. So here's what that looks like. And now we're going to make another cut that connects this corner here with the other edge of the cut. So we've trimmed out this little trapezoid, and here's what that looks like. The other thing that needs to happen is we're going to connect these 2 parallel cuts. So I'm just inserting one blade of my scissors in there, and then I'll go ahead and make a straight cut, and then again on the other side. Now I'm going to go in and fold along all the score lines. Now it doesn't really matter which direction you fold them as long as they're all the same way. I'm making all of mine as valley folds folding towards me. And I'm reinforcing the folds with my bone folder. Now I've got the smaller insert piece, and I've put the larger panel at the top and then this shorter panel down below. I'm going to go ahead and fold the score line in between them as a valley fold. And then these 2 gluing flaps on the side of the shorter piece are going to go inwards like this, because this is going to form a pocket. And then these other gluing flaps on the larger panel are going to be bent backwards like this. These are going to attach to the other part of our card. So here's what that looks like. And I'll go back and reinforce all of those folds. I've got my glue here, and I'm going to put some glue on the first set of tabs here on the shorter panel. You can also use tear and tape. I want to make sure that I'm going all the way to the crease and all the way to the edges. And then this is going to adhere like so. Once that glue sets up, you can see that it's formed a little pocket. And this is what I mean when I say that it's sized for a gift card. Just like that. So then it's very obvious once you open the card that there's something there and your recipient is not going to miss it. And it's also sized so that it can't accidentally turn this way to where it would fall all the way in and be hidden, because you wouldn't want that person to miss out on their present. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach these flaps to the rest of our card base. And if you are intending to use a gift card like I am here, what you can do is line it up so that the top edge here is going to line up with this diagonal line. Let me move it to a white section so you can see it better. So I'm lining this point up with that diagonal line. Now, let's say that instead of a gift card, I wanted to put in something that was taller, like if you wanted to use one of the tags from the kids or a piece of cardstock that you've written a message on. If you wanted to use it that way, you would instead line this up so that it falls lower, and then that gives more room, more clearance up here for your item if it's taller than a gift card. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put this on. I'm going to put glue on the left-hand glue tab, or again, you can use tear and tape if you prefer. Then I'm going to take and turn the whole thing upside down. I'm going to line up this edge along the crease here, and again, I want this tip to line up along this diagonal line. So it's going to look like this. I'll give you a closer look so you can see. Once this sets up, we're going to fold it over like so. And now we want to check and make sure that this edge doesn't bump up against the crease line over here, because if it does, your card is not going to fold all the way flat. Mine is good up here at the top, but down here I can see that it goes into this crease. So I'm just going to use my snips and I'm going to trim that slightly. Let's check it again. Nope, still goes a little bit too much into that crease. I'm going to trim it a little tiny bit more. And when you're trimming, it doesn't have to be super neat or straight. Okay, now that fits well. When this crease goes up, it's not going to get bunched up. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue now on the top surface of this tab. And then I'm going to take this flap over here and press it down on top of that glue. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put glue along here, and then we're going to fold the card over so that this piece, this side piece, meets up with that tab. I'm not going to put glue at this corner here because I know that's eventually going to get cut off. So I'm just going to draw this little diagonal line of glue and fill in everything else. Be careful to only put glue along this tab. Don't get any on this insert panel that you just put in. Now, take this and fold it over. and then let that set up. Once it does, you can check and pop it open. And we're going to cut off this little piece right here. And just like that, we've got our mailbox. I'm going to reinforce this a little bit more so that it lies flatter. So it's going to be flat in the envelope like this, and then when the person opens it, it can pop open and stand on its own, like so. Now all we have left to do is the decoration. I'll start by assembling the message panel. And now remember, this goes on the back. You can flatten out the card to give everything a good press. And then I'll add one of those snowflakes to tie it in with the front. Make sure that you're putting glue on the plain side so that the pretty iridescent side will show. You can use a glue dot here if you prefer. I'll add my other sentiment and 2 of those snowflakes to the flap of the mailbox. And then finally, that beautiful reindeer label. Here's our finished card. It looks just like a little mailbox. And then don't forget that you can include a gift card in the insert. Now everything folds down flat so that it can go inside of an envelope. And I've gone ahead and stamped the reindeer on the envelope as well, just to make everything coordinate. Now if you're stamping over the flap like this, just make sure that you've got some cushion underneath and that you press down very firmly so that you get ink evenly over this ridge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you're interested in Paper Pumpkin but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find the subscription link as well as all of my other links in the description box below. If you get a chance to make this project, I would love to see it, so share it in the Facebook group or tag me if you're sharing elsewhere. I hope to craft with you again next time, and until then, have a great day.